Welcome to Daily Scripture Reading. I do not own the rights to this music. These are scriptures on mercy. Mercy, compassion or forgiveness shown toward someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. It's leniency, clemency, compassion, grace, or pity. I will read the Amplified Version of Luke chapter 23, verses 1 through 45. Jesus before Pilate. Then the whole assembly got up and brought him before Pilate. They began to accuse Jesus, asserting, "We found this man misleading and perverting our nation, and forbidding us to pay taxes to Caesar, and claiming that he himself is Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed, a king." So Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered him, "It is just as you say." Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were insistent and said, "He stirs up the people to rebel, teaching throughout Judea, starting from Galilee, even as far as here in Jerusalem." When Pilate heard it, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And when he learned that he belonged to the jurisdiction of Herod Antipas, the tetrarch of Galilee, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. Jesus before Herod. When Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly pleased. He had wanted to see him for a long time because of what he had heard about him, and was hoping to see some miraculous sign, even something spectacular done by him. And he questioned him at some length, but Jesus made no reply. The chief priests and the scribes were standing there, continually accusing him heatedly. And Herod with his soldiers, after treating him with contempt and mocking and ridiculing him, dressed him in a gorgeous robe and sent him back to Pilate. Now that very day, Herod and Pilate became friends with each other. Before this, they had been enemies. Pilate seeks Jesus' release. Pilate summoned the chief priests and the rulers and the people, and said to them, "You brought this man before me as one who corrupts and incites the people to rebellion. After examining him before you, I have found no guilt in this man regarding the charges which you make against him. No, nor has Herod, for he sent him back to us, and indeed he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore I will punish him to teach him a lesson and release him." Now he was obligated to release to them one prisoner at the feast. But they loudly shouted out all together, saying, "Away with this man, and release Barabbas to us." He was one who had been thrown into prison for an insurrection that happened in the city, and for murder. Pilate addressed them again, wanting to release Jesus, but they kept shouting out, "Crucify him, crucify him." A third time he said to them, "Why? What wrong has he done? I have found no guilt, no crime, no offense in him, demanding death. Therefore I will punish him to teach him a lesson and release him." But they were insistent and unrelenting, demanding with loud voices that Jesus be crucified, and their voices began to prevail and accomplish their purpose. Pilate pronounced sentence that their demand be granted, and he released the man they were asking for, who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, but he handed over Jesus to their will. Simon bears the cross. When they led him away, they seized a man, Simon of Cyrene, who was coming into the city from the country, and placed on him the cross to carry behind Jesus. Following him was a large crowd of the people, including women who were mourning and wailing for him. But Jesus, turning toward them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that have not given birth, and the breasts that have never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things when the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry? 2 others also, who were criminals, were being led away to be executed with him. The crucifixion. When they came to the place called the Skull, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on the right and one on the left. And Jesus was saying, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And they cast lots, dividing his clothes among themselves. Now the people stood by, watching, but even the rulers ridiculed and sneered at him, saying, He saved others from death. Let him save himself, if he is the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up to him and cruelly offering him sour wine, and sarcastically saying, If you are really the King of the Jews, save yourself from death. Now there was also an inscription above him, This is the King of the Jews. One of the criminals who had been hanged on a cross beside him kept hurling abuse at him, saying, Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us from death. But the other one rebuked him, saying, Do you not even fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? We are suffering justly, because we are getting what we deserve for what we have done. But this man has done nothing wrong. And he was saying, Jesus, please remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus said to him, I assure you and most solemnly say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. It was now about the 6th hour, noon, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour, 3 p.m., because the sun was obscured, and the veil of the Holy of Holies of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.